Brett, it's by the kitchen. Good morning, everyone. This is State Treasurer Dale Falwell welcoming everyone to the 86th consecutive Ask Me Anything call with the media, and on March 1st, as we put out in the press release, just to give you an update on the status of the weight loss drugs. As you can imagine, this has become national, if not international news, and that a lot of plans like us are under siege regarding the cost of this weight loss drug. And for those of you who are not that familiar with the topic, we've never questioned what this weight loss drug costs. We're questioning what we're having to pay for it. So we continue in our negotiations with this organization, Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, who are the two biggest providers of this drug. Thank you. And but at the end of the day, we have to be loyal and exercise a duty of care to our members regarding these GLP-1 drugs. There's been major articles in the Wall Street Journal over the last few weeks about other competitors who are coming to this market through the compounding process. And so we continue to look at all that kind of news. Today's election day. I'm here as the keeper of the public purse. I presented to the Bank Directors Association this morning because one of my hats is I chair the State Banking Commission. Secondly, we're having our Ask Me Anything call, and then our local government commission meeting is at 12 o'clock today. Then I'll be heading back to Winston-Salem to vote with my wife and family. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. Dave? Dave, you have the floor.
Treasurer, I don't know why I have the floor, but thank you for letting me have the floor. I hope you can hear this. My question is whether, what advice are you going to give to your successor, given this is election day and you're not going to be in office in January as a treasurer? What are the two key issues that you want them to focus on, whoever your successor is?
Number one is to understand that with everything that's dividing our society these days, which is political party and race and gender, that the only thing they should be focused on is the green, GREEN. Number two is to keep us in the check delivery business. Number three is to maintain the culture that we've built of conservatism and common sense and courtesy, with a special emphasis on answering the phones and customer service. Humility. When you manage $240 billion, mistakes happen. And you have to be transparent about those mistakes, and you have to have a culture where people feel comfortable disclosing those mistakes to you. But most importantly, Dave, is ethics. I've been the best state treasurer money can't buy, and I think I will be that in the next role that I'm undertaking. When you manage $240 billion, you can imagine that people try to pitch things to you or say things to you or get you to do things that are not in the best interest of your oath of office, which is to exercise a loyalty and duty of care to those that teach, protect, and serve, and taxpayers like them. And lastly is they need to get a set of roller skates because this is a big job, and it's a no sunglass job. You don't need your sunglasses when you come to work in the morning, and you don't need your sunglasses when you go home at night if you're doing the job properly. So that's my advice, and I'll be glad to take a follow-up if you have one.
My follow-up, and thank you for that answer, is that it's kind of a bipartisan view of the candidates that we've talked to, that your cash position has just been too high, and that's cost the state. What's your take on that viewpoint?
Well, you can't manage what you can't measure. So let me give you some actual facts. The person who's talking about that the most is a person one of the people who's talking about that is a Republican candidate for governor who manages money for Mike Bloomberg. Mike Bloomberg can turn his spigot off anytime he wants to when you have losses. We're in the check delivery business. So I'm going to answer it three ways, Dave. Number one is that I inherited about a $12 billion unfunded liability, number one. Number two, the plan that just coming out of the great financial crisis. Number three, there are less people paying into the plan than are not. Why should you care about that? The reason you should care is the plan pays out benefits based on people paying into the plan and the money growing. So if less people are paying in the plan than are not, and that's before anybody knew about the shenanigans that UNC Healthcare is pulling, leaving about $600 million liability in the plan, then you have to manage conservatively. So I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have the luxury of talking about things in the rearview mirror. And we're spending $860 million every 30 days. We can't turn off the spigot. The spigot's only going to get more wide open. We're anticipating just the next few years that we're going to be spending $1 billion a month out of the Treasurer's office for healthcare, pharmaceutical, and pension benefits. So those folks who have said that have never actually asked me about it, and I don't expect they ever will. Another question?
Annette Weston Riggs here with Public Radio East.
Hey.
And good morning. I was hoping you could tell me about whether any studies have been done about like a cost benefit analysis to the benefits of the weight loss drugs versus what they cost, and if there's a point where that might even out, or if that's just unknown right now.
Annette, I'd be glad to answer your question. Where are you sitting these days?
I am sitting in Eastern North Carolina at Craven Community College in New Bern.
Oh, good. Glad to have you with us. I'm on the community college board, and obviously that's a very high performing institution. So thank you. Yes, the people from Novo Nordisk flew across the pond, and some local folks met with me. We appreciate Novo Nordisk, who's the manufacturer of Wegovy, being a taxpayer and an employer in our state. And they sat down with us and they started to go through this PowerPoint presentation in that. And I stopped them just a few minutes in the presentation. I said, we're not questioning whether this works. We're questioning what we're having to pay for it. They're trying to get me distracted on some green lantern over here about whether it works. We're questioning what we're having to pay for it. So we started talking about cost benefit analysis, net present value, and they were making these claims about how much we will save through the use of this product. And I said, well, we know a little bit about finance at the Treasurer's office. If you will guarantee those savings and finance those savings at 0.5% for the next 20 years on a fixed basis, yeah, we'll take that deal. They didn't have any interest in that. So when somebody makes the claims about the cost benefit analysis of losing weight, which by the way is a blind glimpse of the obvious, I don't think there's anybody on this call who doesn't understand that there's a benefit anytime any of us lose weight. But when given the opportunity to actually put their money where their mouth is and finance those savings back to the state health plan, because we don't get to finance the cost of this drug, we have to pay for it. They didn't have any interest in that. The other thing I will tell you is that I think that this whole process has put a lot of sunshine in that on actually who's prescribing these drugs. I don't know if you've seen our PowerPoint presentation. And since all this news has broke, you'd be shocked at the people who come up to me who are consuming this drug. And you should never look at a person physically and say, why would you need this drug? Obesity is a very serious issue, but it is kind of shocking when you look at the 25 biggest prescribers of this drug and look at the fact that even one of them even had on their LinkedIn page that they're a guest speaker for Novo Nordisk. You can start to put two and two together. Every time that we have submitted a solution to Novo Nordisk or to Eli Lilly or to our pharmacy benefit manager, we've been rejected every single time. Like body mass index protocols, shortening the prescription because we have a lot of folks who we buy this drug for that probably don't adhere to the adherence of taking the drug. And I think we've submitted at least 4 or 5 things to our pharmacy benefit manager or to Novo Nordisk. We've submitted 13 things to try to get to the bottom of this problem, and they've rejected every one of them. And in some instances told us that if we implement any of this stuff, that we're going to lose the rebates on our drugs. So it's a serious topic, and I appreciate your question. I'll be glad to take a follow-up.
Is this just another firestorm, do you think, in what has become the state of healthcare and pharmaceutical prices in general? This is just the latest in addition to the insulin prices and other things?
Annette, thank you for bringing this up. I'm sorry we haven't chatted that much before. Let me tell you how serious this board is that we had to make this tough decision about Wegovy. 5 years ago, before the politicians and the president started talking about insulin cost, this board eliminated the cost of insulin for our state employees. It's 5 years ago, and testing. And that's how serious we are about adherence to diabetes protocol, insulin protocol. So this is something that we've been paying attention to for a very long period of time. And you're absolutely right. My first recollection of anything doing with diabetes, needles, or insulin, I guess I was probably in 1964 when I was helping my grandmother take a shot in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I'm not a doctor, but I don't think the raw ingredients of insulin have changed a lot in the last 50 years. But the reason we made the decision to have free insulin for our state employees is that the price had tripled the last 7 years. So we take all these issues independently, and we take every one of these seriously. So thank you for bringing that up as far as higher insulin cost. And I'm also not a compoundist, so I know that there's a lot of raw ingredients in the insulin that are in short supply that's causing Wegovy to be in some short supply. And so a lot of this goes hand in hand, but I'm very confident in our staff at the state health plan and our pharmacy and therapy committee. And when we're spending more on this drug than we're spending on cancer treatment drugs at the state health plan, that should tell you how significant this is. And lastly, Annette, it was projected that we were going to spend $170 million for Wegovy this year. A 4% bonus to 250,000 retirees on the state pension plan. That's also about $170 million. Next question. Thanks, Annette. If you have any follow-up, don't hesitate to reach out. Brian? Hey, Brian. Brian, you have the floor. Ray, do you have a question? You're muted, buddy.
Mute. Yeah, I wanted to follow up on what Dave asked about cash, holding cash. One of the folks who was talking was comparing comparing our performance, to other states, and particularly to Washington states. I mean, what do you think that they're doing that we're not doing that we can't do? Because I presume you all look at it, that you all look at other states as well.
Much slower, what? Okay. Great, great question. Number one is that, and some of the people running for treasurer are saying we have this money under the mattress.
Mhm.
This money is earning over 5.5%. Our assumed rate of return is 6.5%. I mean, basically, a lot of the comparisons have to do with us, people wanting us to take more risk. Well, they weren't saying that during COVID when our plan lost half as much as other plans did. So what they want to do is they want to find a benchmark in time that fits their narrative. We don't pay our retirees with benchmarks. We pay them with cash. And when you're spending as much money as we are, when you inherited an unfunded liability, what that means, Ray, is that there was nearly $12 billion of commitments the previous treasurer had made that were not yet funded. There's no reason not to be conservative. And if you look at our charts, you can see that when the markets go to the hell in a handbasket, our plans typically lose about half as much as other plans do. And I think that no matter what political party you're a member of or what issues are important to you, people have confidence that behind their health and behind their family and behind their spiritual relationship, the safety and security of their pension plan is in good shape. And I report all this to you by standing on the shoulders of the hardworking people at the Treasurer's Office who put me in a position of saying this. So, as I said earlier, people running for treasurer who are trying to assert or imply or actually mislead people into thinking this money's under the mattress. We're earning, as I said, over 5.5%, in some cases 7 to 8% on this money, which is a far higher return than what we were earning on it 3 years ago. But the maturity of the plan matters because this plan was never designed for interest rates to be this low for that long of a period of time, for people to retire this early. There's no minimum retirement age on the plan. So for all the females out there, if they come to work for the state government, for example, right out of college, and I just met one at a polling place, she's actually going to draw more retirement checks than paychecks. She's retired at 50 years old. And the plan was never designed for interest rates to be this low. There's no minimum retirement age, and for people to live this long. Low interest rates, early retirements, life expectancy, those are all blessings, but not when you're trying to manage one of the largest pools of public money in the world. But, I've applied for this job. I've never been a swing for the fences person, and I'm not going to be that in my last year. Follow up?
No.
Hey, Teresa. Thank you, Ray.
Hi, Treasurer. I don't have anything today. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thanks for your interest. Any other questions? If not, I want to thank you. Go ahead, Dave.
I know you're busy. May I ask one final question, Dave, here? Can you share any reports from the trial that concluded last week? The media didn't cover it, related to state health plan, Aetna, Blue Cross. Can you share any insights that you've heard from your staff and legal team?
Dave, we remain confident in our position that the state health plan board and the state health plan staff operated and that every single bidder in this process were informed at the same time about what the rules were and the rules were followed. I was actually there, Dave, for the opening arguments, and I was there slightly for the closing arguments. This is something that we take seriously, and what also hasn't gone reported, Dave, is the millions of dollars that we've had to spend on the state health plan. I was hopeful that when I had a call with the chairman of the board of Blue Cross and Tunde Satunde, the president of Blue Cross, after they did not win the bid, that they were going to finish their 43-year relationship with us strong. But of course, they were all turned around and now they're suing until they're blue. It's my opinion that they want to create as much chaos as they can and inject as much chaos as they can into those that teach, protect, and serve. Dave, it's not gone unnoticed, I don't think, by Business NC that Blue Cross has set up another entity. The name escapes me right now. Brighton, and that UNC Healthcare, who's attempting to divorce from the state health plan, is going with Brighton, which is a Blue Cross provider. And then Governor Cooper's OSHR with Barbara Gibson was trying to create another platform through open enrollment. They were going to go through the same group. So I think the business community has underreported what happened with this legislation that enabled Blue Cross Blue Shield to set up these other entities. Not only are they suing us till they're blue, but they're creating other entities where they're going to try to, I think, inject as much chaos into the state pension, state health plan, and create, in my opinion, a lot of financial uncertainty. So let me summarize that. UNC Healthcare got something put in the budget, not to explore or maybe or shall, or I mean, it was a must. They got put into the budget in a piece of language that did not pass either chamber that allows them to divorce from the pension plan and the health plan, leaving a $500 million liability for the pension and $1 billion liability for the state health plan. So everybody should be chapped about this, or all the other people who are still in the family who are going to have to pick up this bill. We're going to pursue that, number one. But number two, then they set up this entity called Brighton, and Brighton is the one who's doing the underwriting for UNC Healthcare. And if you care about low-income workers, another thing that's not been reported is that the people who go to work for UNC Healthcare no longer have an option to be a participant in the pension plan. Period. In the past, they could choose between the pension and the ORP, the other retirement plan. But the fact is that 91% of the people that make less than $20 an hour always chose the pension plan, and they no longer have that option. So if you care about low-income workers, if you care about the invisible, if you care about the solvency of the plan going forward, there is a major, big story out there. And we have done the best job that we can to connect the dots for people to understand this. This is not about what's in the best interest of public employees. It's what's in the personal best interest of certain individuals who I'm sure are laughing all the way to the bank. Ray? Okay. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, staff, for putting this together. I know it's a busy day, and we'll be with you again next month. And don't hesitate to reach out if anybody has any further questions.